usually see it. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, so just wanted to say thank you again I am Candace Altschul and work incentive benefits specialist. That means that I specialize in helping people understand how employment and earnings from employment can impact disability benefits. And what we mean when we talk about benefits are things like Social Security, disability insurance, supplemental security income, or SSI, SSDI, as they're more commonly known. And with those, some of our healthcare programs like Medicare and Medicaid. Beyond that, even I focus on housing assistance, food share, and a number of other benefit programs that people need to navigate. And I was really mentioning earlier that navigation is such a key word in all of this. It's a lot to learn and a lot to kind of sift through. So if there are questions along the way, please definitely put them in the chat. Let me know, and I will have time for questions at the end. My role at Achievability's vocational agency is as a Chief Opportunity Officer. So after about 10 years in the voc rehab field and benefits counseling, I now get to help support people that are out doing that great work, and it's a real joy. So I'm very happy to be at Achievabilities. I've been there for about 2 years now. I do have my email on here, and I'll have it again at the end of the presentation, so you can feel free to reach out to me with any questions if you don't think of them tonight, or if you'd like more information, I'm happy to email that for you. So tonight's theme is about what happens with benefits. I did a little bit of a map for you. So I've got some information about during high school, and that includes to age, 22. So that's for those folks that are transitioning students, as we're all here to discuss. Things to be aware of when exiting high school, how things change, and then some of the work incentives that begin usually after high school when someone is done being a student. And then I've got some future planning tips as well. My entire presentation is about 15 slides, so I'm hopeful it won't take too long. You don't have to listen to me talk forever. You can ask me some questions too. So the first thing I wanted to go over is what are work incentives? So not only do a lot of people not know what I do as a benefits specialist, sometimes they really don't know what work incentives are in these programs. And there's often a misconception that when people qualify for disability programs and benefits, that they cannot work, that it's not allowed, and otherwise everything will go away. And sadly, there's some kind of really bad experience stories out there that tend to get shared and spread around. And what I like to emphasize to people is that every case is different. Every situation is different. It really is an individualized process. And that's why people like myself, benefits counselors, are happy to help answer questions based on your specific situation, because that's very important. So the work incentives are the rules in these various programs that are intended to encourage work. They're intended to create opportunities to help people who qualify for disability benefits to start or return to work, whatever their situation might be, without losing those benefits right away. I mean, it's critical. If you want people to try working and get out there and enjoy employment, you've got to make that somewhat incentivized in this process and not so scary, because as we know, it's people really rely on these benefits for health and for financial wellness, and it's very important. So my job is to balance those two so that people can work and have everything that they need from the programs at the same time. So some of the things that work incentives can do in things like SSI exclude some of the earnings in payment calculations. There are expense deductions that can be applied, and I'll talk about all of these in a bit. The health insurance that comes with the disability payment programs like SSI and DI Those can continue while working as a work incentive. And there are opportunities to quickly restart benefits if at some point an individual has worked enough to stop those benefits and they need them back. So a quick restart is a work incentive as well. And just want to point out this gentleman in the photo. He's one of our team members. His name is Arthur, and he's terrific. He's been working for a couple of years, and he's doing a great job. So the first section is, again, that during high school. So one of the things that we do at our agency and at many agencies is when transition students are getting ready to exit high school, maybe a year prior, if already working with the Department of Voc Rehab, DVR, they may refer for a benefits analysis prior to exiting high school. And typically, maybe right after or during somebody's employment, the student's employment, we want to just make sure that there's an understanding of what happens now with benefits, if anything, and what could happen when exiting high school. So the one I mentioned here is SSI as a benefit, that supplemental security income. Now, there can be others as well, but typically when working with high school students, this is the benefit that we see most. And that's because SSI eligibility is based on disability as well as limited income and assets. And in order to qualify for a Social Security disability benefit, you have to have worked long enough and contributed from payroll taxes into the Social Security system to get that benefit. So that's why most high school students start with SSI unless they have a benefit from a parent or they started working very, very early and may have a small SSDI benefit. So the nice thing about high school is there's this earned income exclusion, the student earned income exclusion for high school students and really all students that are full-time under the age of 22. It allows them to work and earn up to a certain dollar amount per year and per month without impacting that SSI at all. So most families aren't seeing any changes to SSI when their student is still in school. So this year in 2021, a student can earn up to $1,930 per month without impacting those SSI payments. So if they make $1,900 a month at work, Social Security is gonna disregard that whole thing. It's like they're not making anything and they'll get their full SSI payment. And a student can earn up to $77.70 per year. So there is a maximum annual amount on it, but it restarts every January. So it's something that starts again each year and that changes annually. So the nice thing again about this is that many students have the opportunity to work without seeing any impact on their SSI. What happens though is, as you know, we need to go through and discuss what about when they're not a student anymore. So I know that you have a couple of other talks in this series about the long-term care program, the ADRC and DVR and connecting with them. So I won't spend a lot of time on these, but in my experience as a benefits specialist, a big thing that's happening in that kind of final year of high school is connecting with the DVR for employment and also connecting with the ADRC, Aging and Disability Resource Center, for long-term supports. And the nice thing about connecting with these agencies prior to or upon exiting high school is that once the support that is part of the school system ends, you can transfer some of that support over to, say, a vocational agency like Achievabilities or many others in the area that can continue to assist with employment, with skill building, with benefits counseling as your student grows and develops new employment goals and begins earning more money. These are all things that can be supported in an adult program that you can find by connecting with a long-term care support provider. So DVR can connect you with some services. The ADRC can connect you with more long-term services. DVR is considered a short-term program overall because once that employment is secured for 90 days, they will sometimes phase out and then maybe a supported employment agency can take over. So again, please stop me if there are any questions. I'm going to move on to kind of the meat of our presentation tonight is after high school, accessing work incentives and how you do that, because this is when we do see things start to change. So one of the work incentives that you may see available to students are something called subsidy and special conditions. So one quick reminder, I mentioned that you can do that earned income exclusion until age 22, but that's only if the student enters college at a full-time rate, which for the purposes of the benefit would be about 8 credit hours. So that would be considered full-time student. So if they do exit high school and they're still under 22, there may be some time if they're doing any type of higher education to continue working and having that disregarded. A lot of the students that I work with, they may already have a job and maybe they're ready to continue working after high school, and that's great. So that's when we look at some of these other work incentives that can help, again, keep eligibility for benefits, keep them going longer, in some cases, keep payments continued or higher. And the subsidy and special conditions are one that I think is often used but underreported. So it's actually really great if you're working and you have say a job coach on site, or if an employer is maybe limiting tasks or providing additional breaks. These things could be considered subsidy and special conditions. And what Social Security does with this is they actually apply a new value to the job. So let's say I'm working at a job where I earn the same as somebody who would be performing 100% of the job, but because of my disability, I'm only able to perform 80% of the job. So in that case, Social Security may apply a 20% subsidy to my earnings. And what that means is I can take home more money, but they're only going to count 80% of what I'm taking home because that's a true reflection of the work that I'm doing. And that's considered a work incentive. It can allow people to make higher wages and still be able to work within their personal capacities. And the way that that gets shared with Social Security is typically through a work review. Every few years, Social Security is going to contact people who have SSI and SSDI and just ask about some work history, and that's how they get that information. Another big one that I really like, and I also feel is slightly underutilized, are impairment related work expenses. Now, these are basically, if say we're thinking about taxes, right? It's tax season. These are like deductions that a person can take when reporting earnings to Social Security. So if you're going through your monthly expenses and realizing that, hey, I'm spending money on medication, I'm spending money on like special transportation that I wouldn't need if I didn't go to work, and it has to be specialized because I can't drive or I need paratransit. I have a service animal that supports me so that I can work, and I gotta buy that animal food and vet bills and things like that. Those are all considered impairment related work expenses. So what they need to do is they have to be related to the impairment, and they have to enable a person to work. So sometimes people are surprised at how many impairment related work expenses they have when really starting to add things up. Now, something to keep in mind is they cannot be reimbursed expenses. So, for example, if DVR is helping out with something or if Medicaid reimburses it, then it wouldn't count. But if it's out of pocket, if it's a cost that a person has on a monthly basis, that can be subtracted from their countable earnings. And that can keep, again, SSI payments higher and can sometimes continue eligibility a little bit longer. And in that case, all you would have to do is save your receipts and report that to Social Security, and they can document that for you when you're reporting earnings from work.
Candace, this is Tim. Before you go on any further, we do have a question in the chat box. If you
Yes,
could
I
help
was
us.
starting to see some blinking, and I thought I'd take a break.
well, yeah, take a break. But a lot of the blinking is that as we go through, I try to put the websites that you are referencing into the chat box for people, so that if they want to know more information about anything, they can. But we do have a question about what is the difference between SSI and SSDI, and then when should the student family apply?
So the difference between SSI and SSDI is basically that one is a worker's benefit. So the SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance. And I think insurance is the key word when I'm explaining SSDI, because when you get paid and you see those Medicare and Social Security taxes come out of every check, that's going to the Social Security Trust. And that tax is like your premium for the insurance. So once you've contributed enough to the Social Security program, you can qualify for a payment that's based on your work record. And if you have a disability, if you sustain a disability and need that payment, because what it's doing is it's building toward retirement. But if you need it sooner because you have disability, then you can draw on that benefit because you've contributed through work credits. So SSI it's kind of the alternative program to that, because not everybody has worked and contributed those payroll taxes, but they still need that support. They still need that benefit. So that's where supplemental security income, SSI, comes in. And SSI is funded through general tax dollars. So tax revenues are what pay SSI. And that's why where SSDI is based on how much you've contributed and earned over the years, SSI is it's a flat rate for everybody who receives it. So for a student, for example, they may get like $783 a month, and that's the most because that's just the most that an individual can receive in SSI, and it is need-based. So there are income tests and asset tests that are associated with it. And a lot of people start on SSI, especially students. This is something I see happen a lot, actually, because the younger you are, the fewer credits you need in the Social Security program to qualify. So a lot of students begin working and they have SSI and they work for a couple years, and all of a sudden they qualify for an SSDI benefit. So sometimes people get one or the other or both. And of course, there are different rules for both, because why wouldn't there be? It can't be simple and straightforward, but
Right. No, we have to make it as confusing as possible. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Now, the good thing is, and I do mention this in a later slide, there are additional work incentives that go along with SSDI. So there's some good stuff that comes along with that too, that you've earned this benefit now, and now there's this new set of work incentives that you can use. So those are the primary differences. And as far as when a family should apply, anytime, really. I mean, anytime is fine to apply.
And where do they go to apply? Where do they find that information? Yep. Just off the website?
Social Security's website, yep. ssa.gov. And there will be, there's like a few main windows, and one of them will be to apply for benefits, and that's it. So the primary difference between a person who's under age 18 and over is that if they're under age 18, they're going to be tested in this kind of the student or the child system, if you will. And what that means is Social Security is not necessarily going to look at what's their ability to work. They're going to look at what's their ability to thrive in school, in social situations, in these things that, you know, we expect to see children progress in. So the criteria is different because once a person turns 18, then Social Security wants to know, are you able to work? That's the question that they're asking. And does your disability hinder your ability to work? And if it does, maybe you can qualify for a disability benefit. So those are the differences between the two. Also, the the family's income is going to be considered more heavily if applying before age 18. So once a child turns 18, then they can apply as an adult on their own, and only their income is counted. Whereas, you know, if you're under age 18, then the family's income is considered as far as SSI eligibility.
And do families need to reapply at age 18, or does that happen automatically?
It happens automatically, and it's actually a priority category. So Social Security has a number of reviews that they do on a regular basis. Everybody has their disability case reviewed every few years, but what's called the age 18 redetermination, that's a main priority along with new applications. So what Social Security does is they stay right on top of it. So if you're a child who's been receiving SSI, as soon as you turn 18, they're going to contact you to go through that redetermination process, and they just need to reprocess everything. And most, I mean, I've maybe worked with one person over the years who, and I'm only saying that to be safe because I can't even remember who it might be, but who hasn't made it through the age 18 redetermination. It's pretty common to just switch, but then that's when the rules change a little bit for you.
Did have another question from someone.
Great.
Can you explain what the MAP program is and how it works? We have a
Sure.
parent whose son is using it, but not really sure what it is or how it works.
Okay. Yes, I would be happy to explain it. I will say I don't have anything about MAP in this presentation. So if you'd like, I can send some more information and resources after our
Please do.
talk tonight, because it's a terrific program. So MAP, it's MAPP, as you said, that stands for Medicaid or Medical Assistance Purchase Plan. And the simplest way to say that is it's like buying your Medicaid insurance from the state. So it allows all Wisconsin residents to access Medicaid health coverage for a monthly premium. And premium is set based on total income. So unless your income's at a certain point, you don't have to pay a premium. Once it goes over, your premium starts at $25 and it goes up incrementally from there, depending on how much money you have available to you. It's also the key component of MAP is that you have to be working. So it is designed for people with disabilities to access Medicaid who are working. And the reason it exists is because the income limits and the asset limits are higher than other Medicaid programs or SSI. So it really allows people to make a lot of money, an individual up to about $60,000 a year, and still have Medicaid eligibility as long as they have less than $15,000 in assets. And again, it is a disability benefit program, so not everybody can qualify for that program.
So a couple questions. One I'm deciphering a little bit, but this one I'll give to you now as I decipher the other one. When should you apply for Social Security, I'm assuming, when your child's 17 and a half or 18, if your child is not receiving benefits now, so they don't have SSI now, but you think they may be able to receive it as an adult? Should they apply at 17 and a half or 18, or how does that work?
So because I don't work for Social Security, I can't officially advise on that. But the truth is you can apply anytime. So if you're 17 and a half and there's a possibility of qualifying, I suppose if the concern is that the family income is too high, if that's what the concern is, then yes, you'd want to wait until 18. But if not, then there's no harm in applying. It's just you will have to go through the 18 redetermination. So I guess it's not really a clear answer. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it.
No, that's exactly what I've heard before too. Is that a lot of times this question comes up when it's the assets that are being
Yeah,
determined. And
yeah,
so, wait until 18 and then the rules change.
right, exactly. And like I said, then the 18-year-old is considered an adult. I mean, even if they're still living at home, that's fine. But their income will be considered then, and
Oh,
that's maybe when you qualify.
so that leads to this next question, which I think you
Mhm.
might have just answered. So there's a child is not currently receiving SSI or SSDI, turns
Mhm.
18 this month.
Okay.
They'll be living at home after graduation from high school, participating in the Campus Connect program. Will
Hmm.
his living at home affect potential for eligibility? Like, will the parents or sibling income or assets be taken into account, or is it just his?
Just his, after age 18. And it sounds like, you know, the Campus Connect program, I think, would qualify for the student earned income exclusion too. Um, so that'd be something to keep in mind with Social Security. But yes, a lot of people who are 18 and beyond are living at home, and um, it's kind of thought of like a roommate situation because they are legally an adult. So you just have to report that if you're living in the home of another person, these are the rules for SSI as an adult. If you're living in the home of another person, you have to be paying some sort of rent. You have to have like a rent agreement on file. Whatever you
Is there a
determine that to
percentage?
be.
Okay, I was going to say, is there a
um,
percentage that they have to have on file, or can parents fudge that a little?
Sort of. Again, not an official
Not
representative
officially,
of
not
Social
officially. No,
Security.
no, no, not
This
at
is
all.
recorded.
Right.
But no, basically the way that it works at Social Security, and they would walk you through this too. So if you're speaking with somebody about this on the phone or in person, they'll take you through the steps. But what you're supposed to do is take the typical monthly home payments, whether it's rent, mortgage, and then the utilities bills that come along with that, and then you divide that by the number of people living in the home. And then that share, it's considered the fair share. And if the 18-year-old beneficiary is paying their fair share for the living arrangement, then they qualify for the full SSI payment. Um, Now, that being said, I have talked with people who have been in various types of situations. Some have been told, look, as long as you're doing at least $350 a month, then you're going to be fine. We just need some documentation that you are contributing to the household expenses
And
as an
semi-reasonable.
adult. Yeah. So reasonable. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And not like $15 a month. I mean, this
yeah,
has to be a reasonable
yeah,
amount.
that doesn't
Now,
even cover cell phone at $15 a month.
right? Yeah, exactly. So all that said, though, let's say you're in a situation where that just doesn't make sense, or you don't want to deal with it, and if you're living at home still, you can still qualify for SSI. That doesn't change a thing. What does change is the maximum amount of SSI you can receive each month. So what Social Security does is they only give you 2/3 of the maximum payment because you're not responsible for rent and other living expenses. So it's the value of 2/3, the VTR, and or reduction, value of 2/3 reduction. And that's it. So you'd still qualify. You would just only qualify for, say, like $550 versus
Mhm.
$750.
So question about SSDI is somebody
Mhm.
had a benefits analysis done and revealed that the government had been paying their son too much money because they based it on his own and also another family member.
Oh,
So it's being paying both based on both the ex-husband and a retirement record. This is the second time this has happened. Is there any way to avoid having to pay excess money back because the government made a mistake? Can they negotiate
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, they can. So first of all, I wish it was just like, hey, we made a mistake, never mind. But it's not. Unfortunately, the burden of proof still lies on the individual um, to either show that it definitely was a government mistake, or I cannot afford to pay this back. Like, this isn't happening. I can't do it. And so there are two ways to request that. One is to request a payment reduction. So if you feel like, yes, the overpayment was correct, but I can't afford to repay it, you can get it reduced, or you can request a waiver and you can have it wiped out. And the situation and the length of time it's been since it happened, that all factors into what type of request you can make from Social Security. And often, if you make the request, uh, many of them are approved, especially right now with everything that's going on in the world. A lot of overpayments have been waived anyway right now. People can't be kicked off benefits right now because of COVID-19. People aren't supposed to be paying premiums right now. So it's a very unusual time anyway. Um, so I guess I would say if there was ever a time to request that review, and I would do it.
Yeah, so they can request a waiver of that, and I'm
Correct.
assuming
Yeah.
they either can deal directly with Social Security or the ADRC might be able to put them in touch with the Social Security office they would need to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the ADRC might be able to help a bit. They generally focus more on appeals. So if somebody's denied Social Security, um, that's when the ADRC steps in and helps more. But I can include a couple links. I mean, these are general forms that you would fill out from Social Security, and I can send those over afterwards for these overpayment waivers. Um,
Sounds good, Candace. I will not send out the PowerPoint in any of our notes until I hear from you tomorrow.
okay, great. Yeah, and then I was going to send some more about MAP, right?
Correct.
Send that too. Okay, great. Any other questions before I move on? I love questions, by the way. Questions is great. If I could just answer questions the whole time, I would love to do that, but I wanted to put some stuff together for everyone.
It looks like we are good with questions right now, so I guess back to
Okay.
IRWE.
Okay, so we pretty much covered that. Just quickly refreshing, those are like deductions that can be applied at Social Security, can keep payments higher. Um, so I'm just going to move on. There we go. So I wanted to just share an example of how this works, because a lot of the time we're discussing these sorts of things and it's all nice in theory, but it just doesn't really make sense. You'll notice there's a site on here that I am citing a lot. It's a really good website. It's called beforeage18.org. And it was created by a local agency who you've probably heard of. ERI is Employment Resources Incorporated, and they're a terrific agency. Actually have done most of my benefit specialist training there. So I highly recommend that website. It's a really terrific resource for all the things that you need to know, you know, before turning 18. Um, so this is an example that they provide, just so it's a little bit more concrete with numbers. It makes sense as far as how we might apply one of these work incentives, like an IRWE, impairment related work expense. Um, so I have this, the formula here. You can see there are some general exclusions that come out of all income at Social Security. So if I earn, or if Tom in this case if Tom's earning $688 a month, Social Security is going to take a few deductions first. They have some earned income and general income deductions. And then they'll factor in the cost of Tom's transportation services to and from work, and they'll subtract that as well from his gross income. And then they divide that in half. So Social Security only counts about half of the earnings when they're calculating how much you qualify for each month in SSI. So by taking out that additional 125 from the IRWE, we're keeping Tom's payment a little bit higher. You can see this example is from 2020, so it's a little bit more now, that federal benefit rate, but the same idea applies, the same formula applies. So, Tom's payment is $554 a month plus his $688 from work, and that's 125 higher than it may have been before. So that's how these sorts of things work. They are plugged into a formula at Social Security, and where they are plugged into the formula depends on which work incentive it is. So the final thing I want to talk about, kind of with high school, and I mentioned this earlier, is that students may qualify for SSDI as well, that Social Security Disability Insurance. And you can see this slide is pretty sparse because we're not dealing with it a lot. However, if I'm getting a lot of questions about SSDI, which is great. So if I can send more information about that, I would be more than happy to. One of the resources I did put at the end of this presentation is to something called the Red Book. And the Social Security Red Book is like a guide to work incentives. And it's actually really user-friendly. It's got very easy, accessible language. So that's one of my links in here as well. And you can see all about Social Security, disability insurance, and work incentives. But the additional work incentives that come along with it can really open up a lot more employment opportunities as well, more opportunities to earn more money. SSDI, for example, doesn't have an asset limit, so you can save as much as you want. There are just a lot of things to know. So my recommendation always is to request a benefits analysis if SSDI begins, even if you've had one before, so that you can learn about how this new benefit works and how it can possibly work with the SSI that you already have. All right, I just have a couple more slides for you.
So before you continue, Candace, so
yeah,
this is excellent information, by the way. This is exactly why we wanted to have you on tonight.
Oh, great.
But where can families reach out to help with this benefit analysis? Where can they find, because this is all a lot of numbers. So who can help with benefit analysis?
Yes, great question. I think I have it on another slide, but I definitely want to make sure I talk about this. Help with benefits analysis. We usually connect with families in one of three ways. For high school students, and I say we at Achievabilities, we work with a lot of high school transition students, and we may receive referrals from the DVR counselors who are assigned to those high schools. So oftentimes a student is working with a team in the high school, and there may be a DVR counselor involved in that. The DVR counselor can authorize a benefits analysis in high school, and then that can be part of the transition plan, so that information is shared with everybody on the team. Then DVR can also do that on an individual basis. So anyone can work with DVR. You don't have to be a student. If you're working with DVR on your own, you can ask your counselor for a benefits analysis. That's it. Say, we want to know more about benefits. We have questions about it. And the nice thing is, if you are connected with DVR, Division of Voc Rehab, they do have some new guidelines that if a person has any type of disability benefit, they should automatically be referred for a benefits analysis. And then what happens is the counselor reaches out to an achievabilities or any other benefits provider, and says, I have a referral for you. I'd like you to connect with this person, with this family, and provide this benefits analysis. And then we take it from there. The third way is through the long-term care program. So I mentioned connecting with ADRC and getting long-term care supports that oftentimes we'll hear from IRIS consultants or other people on the long-term care team that we need some information about benefits. We want to change jobs. We want to earn more money. Something's confusing. Something happened at Social Security. We can get some benefits counseling authorized through long-term care budgets as well. So those are the primary ways. There is free benefits counseling too. Now, no individual should ever have to pay for these services, just by the way. It's almost always funded through another source. That's best practice. But ERI, who I mentioned earlier, they have something called WIPA, which is the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Program. And that is a Social Security program, and it's free benefits counseling to anybody who needs it through that particular agency if they have an employment goal. So if you have an employment goal and you need some information and you're not already connected to one of those other programs, you can go to this WIPA project. There's one in every state, and that's how you can connect with free benefits counseling.
So a question is are there like different levels of benefit analysis? And you just explained that they shouldn't have to cost anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they really shouldn't. That's not to say that nobody's ever, paid to work with somebody individually or that sort of thing. But
right.
If you are connected with, some sort of support agency, then it's usually part of the service that you're receiving. Different levels. There can be different levels. There are what we call benefits consultations, which is where maybe we're just meeting with somebody to answer some very specific questions about their situation or a certain benefit. And that might just be more of a discussion. Benefits analysis, though, it's usually the same across the board. It is meant to be kind of an in-depth summary, explanation, and analysis of all the benefits that you have that you qualify for. They're all verified with the agencies. Benefits specialists have a responsibility to verify all this information and to analyze all of it to calculate what your individual income limits are for these benefit programs. And it's a written report, and your counselor should go over it with you and then be available for questions afterwards.
And
Kim, this is Nancy Alar. I'm the person that asked that question. And Candace, the reason I asked it is because we just had a benefits analysis done for my son who's on SSDI. He's 42.
Okay.
And when we requested the benefits analysis, because we hadn't had one for about a decade, we were asked to decide what level we wanted it to be done at, because there were 3 different levels and they each cost different. And of course, the more extensive it was, the more pricey it was. My son is also being served by IRIS, and he has someone who's working with him because he has a lot of communication difficulties to figure this stuff out. And so I was kind of surprised that there were 3 levels, because I'd never been told that before. And I just was trying to get some feedback, kind of a second opinion about how that all works, because it is so confusing.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I get it. I understand what you're referring to. And I think what it is there are different services. So sort of, I guess, levels, if you will. But usually with IRIS, the service is broken down hourly. So it's, how many hours will you spend working and analyzing the information, and then how many hours are we spending with families and with individuals to go over it and utilize the information. And so you're correct. If maybe just a couple hours of benefits counseling is being authorized, usually I see that happen if someone's having an issue with Social Security, like they got a letter from Social Security, they're not clear about what it is or how to fill it out, or they think it's wrong, they want to apply for a waiver, that sort of thing. Then we might do a couple hours of benefits counseling, which would be the least expensive to come out. And then the second one would be that benefits consultation that I mentioned. That's kind of the second level. And that's where, again, there might just be a couple issues to address over a 3-month period. You get together a couple of times, you fix what needs to be fixing or address something new. And then that's it. And it's usually recommended for people who have had a benefits analysis at one time or another, and that, you know, the information's pretty up to date. But a benefit specialist should still be verifying the benefits, even at that consultant level. And then the full benefits analysis is typically the highest pay rate. And the reason for that is it generally authorizes about 10 hours of time, and it could be over the course of a year. So maybe you're available to provide a new benefits analysis each year or something like that. And that'll be the full, the comprehensive, the written report, all the information, and then as much follow-up as you need. So to help you actually utilize that information, not to just give you a report and send you on your way. It's okay, now how can we help, and how can we make sure that you're understanding this and that you're able to access these work incentives. I don't know if that's a good answer, but I think that's what was happening. So I hope you got what you needed.
Yes, fine. That was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope you got what you needed from the report too, or from the benefits counseling. That's what I care about. So let me know if you didn't.
Just a clarification, Candace, is if DVR requests the benefit analysis, they then have a job agency like Achievabilities or ERI actually does that analysis, right? It's not DVR doing the analysis, but it's DVR paying for it through Achievabilities or ERI? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So if they refer the service, say ERI or Achievabilities gets that referral and they contact the person, they do the benefits analysis, they provide the service, and then they let DVR know, okay, we provided the service, and then DVR pays for that. So it's all behind the scenes.
And is there a fee to work with Achievabilities? I'm assuming if they're not working through DVR or IRIS, can just people pay you to do a benefits analysis?
So they can, but I work very, very hard to make sure that nobody has to do that. We'll find a way. We'll find a way to get that taken care of. Because no, we really don't even have a private fee structure. And usually we can get it covered because we just want you to have the information.
And we're going to test you a little bit on Medicaid, see how your Medicaid knowledge is.
All right.
The question is, Medicaid is income-based as well, which is for children, not necessarily, because it is available through the Katie Beckett benefit. But the question is, if the Medicaid is income-based, does that change at 18 as well?
No, it does not.
Okay.
That stays the same. And so there is always an asset limit for Medicaid. It will always be income-based. What can change and what can be flexible is what type of Medicaid program you can qualify for. So how you can qualify for that Medicaid, how you can qualify to get that forward health card. There are different ways to access that program, so that if, like I said, maybe your assets and your income are too high for just a general Medicaid or Badger Care, that kind of that baseline program, well, maybe you could access MAP and you would get the same Medicaid coverage, but there are different income and asset limits so that you can continue to have that Medicaid coverage.
And just to put in for parents, if you have questions about the different ways that you might be able to access Medicaid,
Mhm.
is you can call one of the 5 regional centers for children and youth with special health care needs around the state. And they would be able to help you understand the different pathways, the different doorways into Medicaid. So that's a personal shameless plug.
No, that's great. That's great.
And,
Because I'm really great at advising people once they have benefits and how to move around in the programs. But what a work incentive benefit specialist doesn't do is the initial. So the initial applications. And so initially connecting with information. So I can give you general information, but it's not, we're kind of the next step. So
exactly.
there's disability benefit specialists that help get you connected, enrollment specialists, and then there's work incentive when you're working, and then there's elder benefit specialists when you're 65 and older.
So another question for you is, does my child have to be a client with Achieve Abilities to have you do the benefit analysis? Or does he have to use this current job agency? Which brings up a question, do all job agencies have work incentive benefit specialists?
All job agencies do not have benefit specialists. Some do. And no, it's your choice. So if you want to have a benefits analysis, you get to choose who you want to work with for that. And some people just go with their home agency if they're already with somebody. But that's not the rule. You can pick whoever you want.
And you would work through DVR or long-term care,
We
whoever you
do.
happen to be working with. Okay.
Correct.
And
And there are a couple of benefit specialists on our team, and I'll tell you, they're all wonderful. I know because I train them. So if it was us, you'd be working with a good one.
so the other question we have in here is, my daughter is 19 and this is all new, not
Yeah.
sure where to start. So if
Yeah.
you have someone who's just learning about benefits and benefit incentives and all this for the first time, where would you advise that they start?
The ADRC. That's always my advice, is when you are learning about this and exploring this for the first time, they are for sure the first stop, the first call that you want to make. And they're terrific, and they will help connect you with whoever it is that you need to be connecting with based on your needs.
Excellent. Any final questions coming in?
All right. Well, if not, I know it's like 7:30. I just have a couple more slides.
Please go ahead. And
all
people can
right.
feel free to leave if you need to, but if
Yeah.
you do, please take a moment on your way out to click the link in the chat box that leads to a short survey to let us know how we're doing and anything future topics that we should cover. So go ahead and finish up, Candace.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. So just a couple slides I wanted to mention, because I do like to leave things on like a positive note and kind of an optimistic note as much as possible, because this is a lot. There's a lot of information. It can be really overwhelming. So I like to focus on some of the good things that are out there with benefit programs as well, aside from work incentives. One of them is the Ticket to Work program. So this is under my category of planning for the future. So expanding those job horizons, making more money, saving money, things like that as you grow and develop in your job. The Ticket to Work can be a really great program to utilize. I always talk about it because, number one, it's voluntary. So a lot of people who are receiving Social Security benefits right now, they're getting Ticket to Work mail and saying, hey, assign your ticket, assign your ticket. You can work off benefits, yay. And you read the letter and you're like, I don't want to. No, I don't want to do that. What did I do? It's just a standard letter. They're just letting you know about this program, which can be super, super great if you want to work off of benefits. So if you feel like you're in a position to earn enough to stop those cash payments, the ticket program can protect your benefits eligibility while you're working and making your way toward that financial independence goal, as Social Security puts it. So I just want to mention that one. And the final one is the ABLE accounts. I have to talk about ABLE accounts every single time I talk to anybody about benefits ever for all of time. Because the ABLE accounts are just really, really terrific, and we waited for them for so many years. Took a long time to get these set up, but ABLE accounts are tax advantage savings accounts. They can be owned by the beneficiary. They are fantastic. They are for long-term financial planning. So you can use the money in an account to support your personal needs, as long as a disability began before the age of 26. And they're working on getting that up to 45, but it's not there yet. If you had a disability before age 26, you can qualify for an ABLE account, and you can put up to 15,000 a year in it. You can have up to 300,000 in it. It's really just amazing, and you can keep getting Medicaid. You can keep getting the benefits that are so important, and it's really a fantastic program. So I just always have to talk about it. The ABLE National Resource Center is your first stop if you want to learn more about that. And I can send you like books of information if you want more, because I'm a big fan of ABLE accounts.
Can you clarify the tax credit on ABLE accounts for Wisconsin residents, and also who can contribute funds into an ABLE account?
Yeah, absolutely. So the tax credit thing I like to mention, because Wisconsin doesn't have an ABLE program. And that usually is like, what? Well, then why are we even talking about it? Basically, ABLE is a national program, and each state is responsible for setting up their own program. Most states will allow out-of-state enrollment. And so you can go online to the National Resource Center, you can select a state with a program that you like, and you can sign up for that program. So even though Wisconsin doesn't have its own, Wisconsin ABLE account holders can apply for a tax credit when they're filing their taxes. And that's the nice thing that Wisconsin says you can go ahead and do until they get their own program. But who can contribute? Anyone. That's what's so great about ABLE. It's different from like a special needs trust, say, where it's third-party funded and the individual can't contribute. This one's so great because they can. So if I have a disability and I'm working and I need my Medicaid, or I can't do anything, I can't work, I need my Medicaid, but I've got a good job and I'm saving some money, I could have an ABLE account. I could put my own money in there. It would be protected. It would not affect my benefits. I could keep my Medicaid, and then I could use it every month for my rent, or for my transportation, or for my education, or to buy a house. Like I could buy it, whatever. You can use it for that, and I can do that as the beneficiary. So it's great. It doesn't have to be the individual who has full control. You can set it up however you want. So I talk with some families who are like, well, that's not going to work. We need some help. We need some oversight. Like, you can't give them an account. You can set it up that way. Your son or daughter can still be the beneficiary, and you can still have signing authority, or some oversight on it if you want to. But anyone can contribute, and it's really nice. Like, I've heard family members say they love it because they feel like they can give their family member a gift now. So like, it's their birthday, grandma and grandpa want to put in $50 for their birthday, and they can, you actually get a link and you can send it to everyone. It's like, hey, contribute to my ABLE account. And it's you can do it.
A follow-up question on the tax, for the tax credit. It doesn't matter which state the ABLE account is set up in, right? And then it's
correct.
Wisconsin, then the tax credit is only Wisconsin state. It's not a federal tax credit.
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that Wisconsin has said. And if you go to the ablenrc.org, you can do a state-by-state comparison of the different programs. And if you click on Wisconsin, it will explain that tax credit, what it is, how it works, and what the rules are for Wisconsin. So even though we don't have our own program, we still have limits for what you can have in the account. And that's where the $300,000 comes in.
And when you're talking a disability diagnosis for ABLE accounts, is that just a a disability diagnosis, or are we back to the SSDI, SSI disability determination?
Yeah, so it is a determination. And the thing is, if you already qualify for a Social Security disability benefit, you automatically qualify to open an ABLE account, period. Like that's all you have to say is that you have a diagnosis that's been disability determination processed through Social Security, you're done. Now you don't have to have that. You can have just something from a doctor. You can have documentation from a medical provider that you have a disability that began before the age of 26. And as long as you have that, then you can still open an ABLE account. So you don't have to have Social Security to get it.
Okay. And then can you comment on what happens to what if the person with the disability passes away and there's still money left in the ABLE account? What happens to
Medicaid has to
that
get
money?
paid back first.
Okay.
So that's something like I always get out of the way because I know that that's not ideal. But if there is Medicaid money to be repaid, then that has to be repaid. And after that, the money can be distributed to the individual's beneficiaries.
And I'm sure the government will very gladly tell you how much you owe Medicaid.
They sure will. They're helpful folks.
They're just so nice that way.
I'll let you know. Honestly, like it's sometimes, sometimes it's not that much. All right, I'm not even gonna, nope, I'm not even gonna, but yeah, that's what has to happen.
And then we have another question for the disabled young adult who doesn't have a guardian. Who decides how they spend money on their ABLE account? Who's the gatekeeper of the account?
Well, it would be them, honestly. I mean, they are able to, if they don't have a guardian and they decide to set up this account, then they can do that. That is one of the, in some camps, it's the pro and the con of it is that the money's available to you. It's money that you can use. It's money that you can manage. And it was created with the recognition that a lot of people can handle their own finance. A lot of people with disabilities they can save money, they can make money, they can handle their financial decisions. They don't need a third-party trustee holding their money and allowing them to access it. So that's the idea behind it. That doesn't mean it's right for everyone. It's not. So sometimes the trust is the way to go. First party funded, third party funded, pooled trust. There's all sorts of options there as well that will protect the money.
And I know we don't have time to get into trust tonight.
I intentionally left trusts out.
Yes, it is its own little morass of knowledge.
Because it is. I actually have another presentation on ABLE accounts and special needs trusts if you're interested. So, but it's its own topic. And I also left it out because I know that special needs trusts are something that a lot of families, not all, but a lot of families have heard about and maybe are familiar with and maybe even already have established through their own estate planning. Whereas ABLE account is fairly new. And the fact that it can be established by the individual with a disability is just a big, in my opinion, there's some work, incentive, and advantages tied to ABLE.
Well, someone in the chat would love for us to, in the future, have a presentation that compares the special needs trust and ABLE accounts to help understand the differences better. So we will, you won't be far off the radar. It's probably looking in the fall. For you back for that, and we'll try to make sure that we hook up with the people who attended Transition Talks Tuesdays for when we have our next Transition Talks with whoever we are going to do those in conjunction with.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, just let me know. That's all I have for tonight. I just included some reminders at the end, making sure to report income and employment changes always to Social Security and other agencies, even if you think it's little, even if you think you don't need to, just do it. If you think you might be eligible for a work incentive, just ask Social Security. It truly, I mean, they'll tell you and they'll run it if they need to, and then connecting with benefit specialists when considering work changes and employment changes. So I know it sounds like a lot of these links are in the chat. I did send a PDF of my presentation, all my slides. So you're welcome to those. And all of these links are active. So if you get the PDF, you should be able to click right on them and connect to all of these resources. And I will send along a few others for that waiver information, map, and possibly, was there anything else I can include?
I think those were the two main ones.
Okay. Great.
So yes, when you send those to me, then I will send it out to everybody who is, if you are registered and I have your email address, we will send those to you as soon as we get everything posted and compiled.
Okay.
And so I too would like to say thank you and just turn it over to Linnea to close us out.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, now I can see the chat. I love all the thank yous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candace. I learned a ton tonight. I actually have an 11-year-old on the spectrum as well. And so I see a lot of things on my to-do list to do for the future. So thank you for helping me out.
You're welcome.
So just to wrap up, if you would please fill out the survey. I know that Tim put it in the chat. And if you missed any of the presentation or any of our previous ones, they are on Transition Talks Tuesday website and on YouTube. Thank you for the Children's and Youth with Special Needs Care website for sponsoring it. And also, I just need to put in a plug. We have a scholarship for the Autism Society of South Central Wisconsin, which is due, I believe, on the 15th. If you know of anyone who would be interested, it's not only for kids who are going to college, but any program or any age. So please consider filling that out. And just to highlight again, our upcoming training. So we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Candace.